Your hormones didn't just collapse because of age. Something far more correctable is happening inside your body right now, and most women over 60 have no idea. Every hot flash, every sleepless night, every mood swing that seems to appear out of nowhere, every inexplicable weight gain around your belly, these are not simply the price of getting older. They are signals. Your body is screaming for something specific. And the shocking truth is, the answer has been sitting in your grocery store this entire time. What your doctor isn't telling you, what the pharmaceutical industry would rather you never discover, is that 7 ordinary vegetables contain compounds so powerful they can interact directly with your estrogen receptors, regulate your cortisol, and stabilize your hormonal environment in ways that expensive medications often fail to do. You've been told to just accept this, to manage it, to take this pill or that supplement. But I refuse to let you walk out of here without knowing what I've seen transform the lives of thousands of women in my own practice. Stay with me until the very end of this video, because the #1 vegetable on this list is something most women over 60 actively avoid. They've been told it's bad for their thyroid, or that it causes bloating. That advice is dangerously outdated. A landmark study published in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology found that when prepared correctly, this vegetable reduced the frequency of severe hot flashes by up to 47% within just 3 weeks. Not 3 months, 3 weeks. And yet almost no woman I've spoken to has ever used it the right way. I'm Dr. Michael Carter, a physician specialized in senior health with over 15 years of dedicated clinical experience. I've worked closely with hundreds of women over 60, navigating the complex and often devastating hormonal changes that come with menopause and postmenopause. What I'm about to share goes against the standard advice most of you have received. The medical establishment has been slow to acknowledge what nutritional science has been proving for over 2 decades. But I've seen it with my own eyes. Woman after woman walking into my office exhausted, embarrassed, and defeated, and walking out weeks later transformed by changes this simple. I refuse to stay silent any longer. Before we get into the list, I want you to understand what's actually happening inside your body. Because when you understand the mechanism, the solution becomes obvious. After 60, your ovaries have dramatically reduced their estrogen production. But here's what most women are never told. Your body has a backup system. Your adrenal glands, your fat cells, and most critically, your gut microbiome, all continue producing and metabolizing estrogen and estrogen-like compounds called phytoestrogens. The problem is, if you're eating the wrong foods, or more specifically, not eating the right ones, this backup system fails you. The result is a state called estrogen dominance relative to progesterone, or estrogen deficiency depending on your specific situation, both of which create the same catastrophic chain reaction inside your body. Your cortisol spikes, your thyroid slows, your insulin resistance increases, inflammation rises, sleep quality collapses, and your brain, which is exquisitely sensitive to hormonal fluctuations, begins to show it through brain fog, anxiety, memory lapses, and mood instability that feels completely foreign to who you are. Here's what terrifies me most as a physician. Most women accept these symptoms as normal aging. They are not. A 2021 study from the Nurses' Health Study cohort, following over 116,000 women for more than 30 years, found that dietary patterns, specifically phytoestrogen and cruciferous vegetable intake, were among the strongest modifiable predictors of menopausal symptom severity. Women who ate the right vegetables regularly experienced significantly milder symptoms, retained better cognitive function, and had measurably lower levels of inflammatory markers like C-reactive protein. This isn't alternative medicine. This is science. And here's what I want you to hold on to before we begin. You are not broken. Your hormones are not permanently damaged. Your body desperately wants to restore balance. It just needs the right raw materials. And today, I'm going to give you exactly that. Before we continue, I'm genuinely curious. How old are you? In your 60s, 70s, perhaps beyond? And are you currently dealing with any of these symptoms, hot flashes, poor sleep, unexplained weight gain, brain fog, or low energy? Type the word yes in the comments right now if any of these symptoms sound familiar. You are not alone, and your response helps other women watching know they are not alone either. Now, let's get into the 7 vegetables, ranked from helpful to absolutely essential, starting with number 7. Number 7. Asparagus. Asparagus might seem like an unlikely hormonal ally, but the science behind this slender green vegetable is genuinely impressive. Asparagus is one of the richest dietary sources of a compound called inulin, a prebiotic fiber that feeds the beneficial bacteria in your gut. And here's why this matters so profoundly for your hormones after 60. Your gut microbiome contains a collection of bacteria called the estrobolome. This specialized community of gut bacteria is responsible for metabolizing and regulating circulating estrogen in your body. When your estrobolome is compromised, which happens when you eat a low-fiber diet, your estrogen metabolism becomes erratic. Estrogen that should be processed and excreted gets reabsorbed into your bloodstream in a more reactive form, contributing to hormonal imbalance, increased cancer risk, and worsening symptoms. A study published in Nutrients Journal in 2020 found that prebiotic fiber intake directly improved estrogen metabolism efficiency in postmenopausal women, reducing circulating levels of the most reactive estrogen metabolites by 23% over 8 weeks. But that's not all asparagus does. It's also exceptionally high in folate and vitamin K, both of which are critical for mood regulation and bone density, 2 areas where women over 60 are extremely vulnerable. How to use it? Aim for 4 to 6 asparagus spears at least 3 times per week. Lightly steam or roast them. Avoid boiling, which destroys up to 40% of the water-soluble nutrients. Add a drizzle of olive oil and a squeeze of lemon after cooking. The fat in the olive oil increases absorption of the fat-soluble compounds. Pro tip: eat the tips. The highest concentration of prebiotic inulin is found in the tender tips of asparagus, not the stalks. Most people trim and discard exactly the part they need most. This brings us to number 6. Number 6. Beets. Beets are extraordinary and chronically underappreciated. Women over 60 who dismiss beets as too sweet or too much effort are missing one of the most powerful natural liver tonics available, and your liver is the organ most responsible for hormonal clearance. Here's the mechanism. Your liver is where used hormones go to be deactivated and prepared for excretion. A sluggish liver means hormones, especially estrogen, recirculate in your bloodstream far longer than they should. This creates a hormonal traffic jam that contributes to breast tenderness, weight retention, mood instability, and increased cancer risk. Beets contain a compound called betaine, as well as naturally occurring nitrates that improve liver blood flow by up to 20% and support a detoxification process called methylation. Methylation is the biochemical process by which your liver tags used hormones for disposal. When this process works efficiently, your hormonal environment becomes dramatically more stable. Research published in the Journal of Nutrition in 2019 found that betaine supplementation improved liver methylation capacity and reduced homocysteine, an inflammatory marker strongly linked to cognitive decline in postmenopausal women, by 18% over 6 weeks. How to use it? Eat half a medium beet 3 to 4 times per week. Roasting brings out the natural sweetness without destroying the betaine. You can also juice raw beets, but if you do, mix with green apple and ginger to moderate the sugar impact. Avoid canned beets and sugar syrup entirely. Pro tip: the beet greens are arguably more nutritious than the beet itself. They're rich in lutein, calcium, and beta-carotene. If you buy fresh beets with the greens attached, sauté the greens in garlic and olive oil. Most people throw away the most valuable part. Now let's move to something even more powerful. Number 5. Fennel. Fennel is almost completely overlooked in American kitchens, and that is a genuine tragedy for women over 60. This anise-flavored vegetable contains compounds that are among the most studied natural phytoestrogens in clinical literature. Fennel contains a specific compound called anethole, which has been shown in multiple studies to bind to estrogen receptors in the body, producing a mild estrogenic effect without the risks associated with synthetic hormone replacement. This is critically important for women who cannot or choose not to take hormone replacement therapy. A randomized controlled trial published in the Iranian Journal of Pharmaceutical Research found that fennel seed extract significantly reduced the severity of hot flashes in postmenopausal women, with a 74% reduction in hot flash intensity after 8 weeks compared to placebo. The fennel bulb itself, the part you eat as a vegetable, contains similar compounds in lower but still clinically meaningful concentrations. Beyond hot flashes, fennel is also a natural digestive aid, reducing the bloating and gas that commonly worsens hormonal symptoms by triggering cortisol spikes through gut discomfort. How to use it: slice raw fennel thinly and eat it in salads. The crunchy raw form preserves the highest concentration of anethol. You can also roast fennel wedges with olive oil and lemon as a side dish. Aim for 1 cup of raw fennel or half a cup of roasted fennel at least 4 times per week. Pro tip: do not discard the fennel fronds, the feathery green tops. These are rich in flavonoids and make an excellent herb garnish on fish or in soups. They contain a different but complementary spectrum of phytoestrogenic compounds. This is where things get really interesting. Let's go to number 4. Number 4, Swiss chard. If you are sleeping poorly, and I know from my years of practice that most women over 60 are, Swiss chard might be the single most underutilized sleep and hormone tool available to you. Swiss chard is extraordinarily high in magnesium. A single cup of cooked Swiss chard contains 150 milligrams of magnesium, nearly 40% of your daily requirement. And magnesium is not just a mineral. It is the master regulator of your nervous system's response to stress hormones. Here is what's happening inside your body if you're deficient in magnesium, which research suggests up to 68% of adults over 60 are. Your cortisol, the stress hormone, cannot be adequately suppressed at night. Your cortisol is supposed to drop to its lowest point in the early hours of morning, allowing your body to enter deep restorative sleep and allowing melatonin to rise. Without enough magnesium, this suppression fails. You lie awake with racing thoughts. You wake up at 3 or 4 in the morning, and you feel exhausted even after 8 hours in bed. But the hormonal cascade doesn't stop there. Chronically elevated cortisol actively steals the precursor compounds your body uses to make progesterone. This is called the cortisol steal, or pregnenolone steal, and it's one of the primary drivers of the progesterone deficiency that makes postmenopausal symptoms so severe. A meta-analysis published in the Journal of Research in Medical Sciences found that magnesium supplementation significantly improved sleep quality in older adults, with particular benefit for sleep onset time and nighttime waking frequency. Swiss chard gives you this magnesium in its most bioavailable whole food form. I remember Patricia, a 67-year-old retired school teacher from Minneapolis. She came to my office with a list of symptoms that had been building for 4 years. She was waking up between 3 and 4 in the morning every single night, unable to fall back asleep. She was irritable during the day. Her memory felt foggy, and she had gained 11 pounds in her midsection despite not changing her diet. She came to me completely defeated. She told me her previous doctor had offered her sleeping medication and antidepressants. She didn't want either. She wanted to understand what was actually wrong. I had her complete a detailed nutritional intake analysis. What I found was a magnesium intake so low it was barely measurable. Her diet had gradually shifted to processed convenience foods over the years, foods that are virtually devoid of magnesium. I asked her to add 2 cups of cooked Swiss chard to her diet every day, alongside several other changes we'll talk about in today's action plan. I also had her eat a small handful of pumpkin seeds before bed each night for additional magnesium. 3 weeks later, she sent me a message through our patient portal. She wrote, "Dr. Carter, I slept through the night for the first time in 4 years. I woke up and I cried. I actually cried because I felt rested. I forgot what that felt like." 6 weeks after that, she came back in person. The 11 pounds were beginning to shift. Her mood had stabilized. She said, "And I'll never forget this. I feel like I got myself back." This wasn't magic. This was her body finally receiving what it had been desperately asking for. And you can experience exactly the same thing. If this information is helping you see your symptoms in a new light, I want to ask you for 2 things right now. First, hit the like button. It costs you nothing, and it tells the platform that this kind of real, evidence-based health information deserves to reach more women who need it. Second, subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Every single week, I release content specifically designed for adults over 60, cutting through the noise to give you the information that actually matters for your health and your quality of life. Now let's continue. We're at number 3, and this is where we begin to enter the most powerful territory. Number 3. Broccoli sprouts. Pay close attention here, because this one surprises almost everyone I tell it to. Broccoli sprouts, not mature broccoli, but the young 3 to 5 day old sprouts you can grow at home or find in the produce section, contain a compound called sulforaphane in concentrations up to 100 times higher than mature broccoli. And sulforaphane is one of the most comprehensively studied anti-cancer, hormone balancing, and cellular protective compounds in all of nutritional science. Here's why sulforaphane matters so profoundly for your hormones. It powerfully activates a genetic pathway in your body called NRF2, which controls the production of your body's internal antioxidant and detoxification enzymes. Crucially for hormonal health, this NRF2 activation improves your liver's phase 2 detoxification capacity, specifically the pathway responsible for converting reactive estrogen metabolites into harmless compounds that can be safely excreted. Without robust phase 2 detoxification, your body produces high levels of a dangerous estrogen metabolite called 4-hydroxyestrone, which has been directly linked to increased breast cancer risk, worsening hot flashes, and cognitive decline in postmenopausal women. A study published in the journal Cancer Prevention Research found that women who consumed sulforaphane-rich foods showed a 40% reduction in circulating levels of these harmful estrogen metabolites within just 2 weeks. But here's the warning most people give that I want to correct. Many practitioners tell women with hypothyroidism to avoid all cruciferous vegetables. This advice is outdated and overly broad. Cooking cruciferous vegetables, including broccoli sprouts, deactivates the goitrogens that can theoretically interfere with thyroid function. A 2 to 3 minute light steam is all you need. The sulforaphane remains largely intact, while the goitrogenic compounds are neutralized. How to use it? 2 tablespoons of fresh broccoli sprouts per day is a meaningful dose. You can grow them yourself from seeds in a jar for about $2 per batch. Eat them raw in salads, on sandwiches, or mixed into yogurt. If you prefer cooked, a very light steam of 2 to 3 minutes maximum is ideal. Pro tip: chew broccoli sprouts thoroughly before swallowing. Sulforaphane is not present in the plant itself. It's formed by a chemical reaction between 2 compounds called glucoraphanin and myrosinase, which are released and combine only when the cell walls are broken by chewing. More chewing equals more sulforaphane. This brings us to number 2, and I want you to pay very close attention. Number 2, flaxseed used as a vegetable-adjacent food. I know some of you are thinking, flaxseed isn't a vegetable, and you're right. But it belongs on this list because it is the single most concentrated dietary source of lignans, a class of phytoestrogens that have more clinical research behind them for menopausal symptom relief than nearly any other food compound. And because flax seeds are a plant food used in exactly the same dietary context as vegetables, they earn their place at number 2. Lignans are metabolized by your gut bacteria into compounds called enterolignans, specifically enterodiol and enterolactone, which bind to estrogen receptors throughout your body with remarkable selectivity. In women with estrogen deficiency after menopause, they provide a mild estrogenic effect that reduces hot flashes, vaginal dryness, and mood instability. In women with relative estrogen dominance, they actually compete with and block more potent estrogens, providing a balancing rather than simply additive effect. This dual action, estrogenic when estrogen is low, anti-estrogenic when estrogen is excessive, is called selective estrogen receptor modulation, and it's the same principle behind certain pharmaceutical drugs. Except lignans achieve this naturally, without the side effect profile of synthetic drugs. A meta-analysis of 11 randomized controlled trials, published in the journal Maturitas, found that dietary lignan intake was associated with a 34% reduction in hot flash frequency and a significant improvement in sleep quality in postmenopausal women. The same research found that women with higher lignan intake had measurably better bone mineral density, a critical concern for women over 60. I want to tell you about Dorothy, a 71-year-old retired nurse from Boston who came to see me about 2 years ago. Dorothy had been through a difficult time. She'd lost her husband of 44 years the previous year, and the grief combined with the hormonal changes she was already experiencing had pushed her to what she described as the edge of herself. She was having hot flashes more than a dozen times a day. She hadn't slept more than 3 consecutive hours in months. She was tearful, exhausted, and as she put it, terrified of her own mind. She was not a candidate for hormone replacement therapy due to a family history of hormone receptor-positive breast cancer. She felt, as so many women do, that she had no options. I started her on a comprehensive dietary protocol. The cornerstone was 2 tablespoons of freshly ground flaxseed every morning, stirred into oatmeal or yogurt. We added several other changes, including a number of the vegetables on today's list. 4 weeks later, her hot flashes had reduced from over a dozen per day to 3 or 4, and they were less intense. 6 weeks after that, she was sleeping in 5 to 6 hour stretches. She called me on the phone, something she hadn't done before, and she said, "Dr. Carter, I need you to know that you gave me my life back. Not just my body, my life." She still sends me a card at Christmas. Every year, and every year I am reminded of why I chose this work. This is preventable. This is manageable. And you deserve to know exactly how. How to use it. 2 tablespoons of ground flaxseed per day is the therapeutic dose supported by the research. It must be ground. Whole flax seeds pass through your digestive system largely undigested, and the lignins inside remain inaccessible. Buy whole flax seeds and grind them fresh in a small coffee grinder, or buy pre-ground and store in the refrigerator or freezer to prevent oxidation. Add to oatmeal, yogurt, smoothies, or sprinkle on salads. Pro tip: the ratio of omega-3 to omega-6 fatty acids in flaxseed is extraordinary, roughly 4 to 1 in favor of omega-3. This means flaxseed also simultaneously addresses the inflammatory environment that worsens all hormonal symptoms. It is doing double duty every single time you consume it. Now experience sharing moment. Have you been dealing with hot flashes, poor sleep, or emotional symptoms that feel completely disconnected from who you've always been? Share your story in the comments. I read everyone. Not because I say that as a formality, but because understanding what real women are experiencing helps me create content that actually serves you. Your experience matters here. And now, the one you've been waiting for. Number 1. Number 1. Kale. Yes, kale. And before you say you've heard this before, I promise you, what I'm about to tell you is not what you've heard. Kale is at the top of this list not because it's a superfood in the marketing sense of that word. It's here because it is the most comprehensively documented hormonal support vegetable in the scientific literature for women over 60, when prepared in a specific way that almost no one uses. Here's why kale works. First, it contains I3C, a compound called indole-3-carbinol, which is metabolized in your gut to form DIM, diindolylmethane. DIM is one of the most powerful natural modulators of estrogen metabolism ever studied. It actively shifts your body's estrogen metabolism away from the dangerous 16-alpha hydroxyestrone pathway, which promotes fat storage, inflammation, and increased cancer risk, toward the protective 2-hydroxyestrone pathway, which is anti-inflammatory and associated with reduced risk. A study published in the Journal of the American Medical Association Internal Medicine found that women who consumed DIM-rich foods at least 4 times per week had a 32% lower rate of estrogen receptor-positive breast cancer compared to women who rarely consume these foods. These are not small numbers. These are life-altering numbers. But DIM is just the beginning of what kale does. Kale is also the richest dietary source of vitamin K2 in the plant kingdom, critical for directing calcium into your bones and away from your arteries, a crucial concern for women over 60 whose fracture risk and cardiovascular risk both rise sharply post-menopause. It's rich in lutein and zeaxanthin, compounds that protect retinal cells and reduce the accelerated macular degeneration risk that postmenopausal estrogen decline creates. It contains sulforaphane, the same compound in broccoli sprouts, at meaningful concentrations, and it provides a spectrum of B vitamins that directly support the neurotransmitter production, serotonin, dopamine, GABA, that makes the difference between emotional stability and the roller coaster most women describe. Now, here is the specific preparation method that changes everything. And this is what most women have never been told. Raw kale is difficult for your body to extract maximum nutrition from because of its tough cell walls, and it contains higher concentrations of oxalates that can interfere with mineral absorption. Boiling kale destroys a significant portion of its water-soluble vitamins and leaches out the very compounds you need. The optimal preparation is this. Massage raw kale with a small amount of olive oil and sea salt for 2 to 3 full minutes until the leaves soften and darken slightly. Then allow it to sit for 10 minutes. This brief process breaks down the cell walls, dramatically improving nutrient bioavailability, reduces the bitterness that makes kale unpleasant for many people, and actually increases the enzymatic conversion of glucosinolates to DIM and sulforaphane by up to 40%, compared to simply chopping and eating raw kale immediately. The olive oil simultaneously increases absorption of the fat-soluble compounds, particularly vitamin K2 and the carotenoids. I want to tell you about Margaret, a 64-year-old retired attorney from Chicago. Margaret walked into my office almost 3 years ago with what she called a brain that no longer works. She had been a sharp, meticulous professional her entire career, but over the previous 18 months, she had started forgetting client names she'd known for years. She would walk into a room and have no idea why she had gone there. She was losing words mid-sentence. Her concentration had collapsed. She was terrified. Her husband was terrified. She had seen 2 neurologists who had done extensive testing and found no pathological explanation. What they had not looked at was her hormonal status and her nutritional environment. When I reviewed her labs with a comprehensive lens, the picture became clear. She had extremely low progesterone relative to estrogen, low magnesium, low vitamin K2, and almost no intake of cruciferous vegetables. Her estrogen was being metabolized primarily along the 16-alpha pathway, producing an inflammatory hormonal environment that was directly affecting her cognitive function. I put Margaret on a specific protocol. The centerpiece was 1 full cup of massage-prepared kale every single day, combined with other dietary changes. We addressed the magnesium deficiency with Swiss chard and magnesium glycinate before bed. We added flaxseed. We added fennel. 8 weeks later, her husband called my office to thank me. He said, and I remember his exact words, "She's back. I don't know what you did, but she's back." Margaret herself came in shortly after and said, "Dr. Carter, I was afraid I was losing my mind permanently. You helped me understand that my brain wasn't failing. It was starving. And once you fed it what it needed, it came back." This is not an isolated story. I have seen versions of this: the brain fog, the cognitive slippage, the emotional dislocation, resolve in women over and over again when the underlying nutritional and hormonal environment is corrected. Your brain is not failing. It may simply be starving. This is reversible. You are not broken. The power to change this is genuinely in your hands. And it starts with what you put on your plate. If this video has opened your eyes to something you didn't know before, please hit that like button right now. It's a simple action that helps this information reach thousands of other women who are suffering through these symptoms without any idea that something this straightforward could change their experience. Now I want to give you something concrete to take with you, a practical action plan you can start implementing tomorrow morning. Here's exactly how to use these 7 vegetables to restore hormonal balance after 60. Starting tomorrow morning, add 2 tablespoons of freshly ground flaxseed to your breakfast. Stir it into oatmeal, mix it into yogurt, blend it into a smoothie. This is your daily non-negotiable. It takes 30 seconds and it is the single highest impact dietary change most women make. Do this every morning without exception. At lunch, 3 to 4 times per week, include 1 cup of massaged kale as described, with olive oil and a full 2 to 3 minutes of hand massaging, allowed to rest for 10 minutes before eating. You can add cherry tomatoes, cucumber, a sprinkle of sunflower seeds, and a simple lemon and olive oil dressing. This is genuinely delicious when done correctly. 3 to 4 evenings per week, cook 1 cup of Swiss chard. Sauté it gently in olive oil with garlic for 4 to 5 minutes. Eat this with your evening meal. The magnesium in the Swiss chard will begin supporting your sleep quality within the first week. 2 to 3 times per week, add asparagus. Roast it at 400 degrees for 12 minutes with olive oil and a squeeze of lemon. 4 to 6 spears is an ideal serving. Daily, add 2 tablespoons of fresh broccoli sprouts to any meal. On your eggs in the morning, in your salad at lunch, on a sandwich. Raw, lightly chewed, 2 minutes of effort per day. Once or twice per week, add roasted beets to your diet. Half a medium beet, roasted, with the greens if available. If you buy fresh beets, sauté the greens separately. Once or twice per week, incorporate raw fennel, sliced thin in a salad with orange segments and a light dressing, or roasted as a side dish. Now, critical mistakes to avoid. These are the errors that will undermine everything I've just told you. First, do not take isolated supplements expecting the same results as whole food sources. The research supporting these vegetables is based on the complex matrix of compounds found in whole foods, not individual extracted nutrients. Supplements can complement this approach, but they cannot replace it. Second, do not boil these vegetables in large amounts of water. Boiling is the single most destructive cooking method for the very compounds that make these vegetables hormonally beneficial. Steam, roast, sauté, or prepare raw. These are your 4 methods. Third, do not make all of these changes for 1 week and then abandon the protocol when you don't feel dramatically different in 72 hours. The timeline for dietary hormonal intervention is longer than most people expect. Here's what the research actually shows. Within 3 to 5 days, you will notice digestive changes and improved sleep onset. Within 1 to 2 weeks, many women report reduction in the frequency and intensity of hot flashes. Within 3 to 4 weeks, energy levels typically stabilize and mood becomes noticeably more consistent. Within 6 to 8 weeks, cognitive clarity, memory, and word retrieval often improve meaningfully. Within 3 months, bone density markers, inflammatory markers, and hormonal profiles measured in lab work begin to show measurable improvement. Fourth, do not eat these vegetables in isolation from other healthy dietary practices. These vegetables work synergistically with adequate protein, healthy fats, and the elimination of ultra-processed foods from your diet. They are a critical piece of the puzzle, not the entire puzzle. Fifth, do not ignore your doctor. These dietary changes are safe, evidence-based, and complementary to any medical care you're receiving. But please tell your physician what you're doing and continue any prescribed medical management alongside these changes. Your body wants to heal. It is not your enemy. It is fighting alongside you. It simply needs the right raw materials. These 7 vegetables are among the most powerful raw materials science has identified for your hormonal health as a woman over 60. So let's bring it all together. Today we covered 7 vegetables ranked for their impact on hormonal balance for women over 60. Number 7, asparagus, for prebiotic gut support and estrobolome health. Number 6, beets, for liver methylation and hormonal clearance. Number 5, fennel, for natural phytoestrogenic hot flash relief. Number 4, Swiss chard, for magnesium-driven cortisol regulation and sleep restoration. Number 3, broccoli sprouts, for sulforaphane-powered estrogen detoxification. Number 2, flaxseed, for lignin-based selective estrogen receptor modulation. And number 1, kale, prepared correctly, for the most comprehensive spectrum of hormonal support available from a single food source. Each of these is powerful on its own. Combined consistently, they create an internal environment where your hormones can find the balance your body has been desperately seeking. My message today is not fear. It is not that your body is failing you. My message is empowerment. You now have information that most women in this country never receive. Information that is backed by serious science and confirmed by the experiences of the women I have had the privilege of caring for. Here is my challenge to you. For the next 30 days, commit to the action plan I've described. Add these vegetables to your routine consistently. Track how you feel. Notice the changes in your sleep, your energy, your emotional steadiness, your mental clarity. Your body will respond. It wants to respond. It's been waiting for exactly this, and I want to hear from you as it happens. Come back to the comments of this video and tell me what you're experiencing. I genuinely read these. Your stories matter to me, and they help every other woman who is watching this and wondering if change is still possible for her. If this video gave you something real today, something you'll actually use, please smash that like button. Subscribe if you haven't already, because next week I'll be releasing a video on the 3 most common medications that silently disrupt hormonal balance in women over 60. including one that's prescribed for a condition most of you have never connected to your hormones. You do not want to miss that. And please share this video with the women in your life, your sisters, your friends, your daughters who may be approaching this chapter. A simple share can start a conversation that genuinely changes a life. Because here's the truth I want to leave you with. Getting older does not mean getting worse. It does not mean surrendering your energy, your mind, your vitality, or your joy. It means learning to give your extraordinary body what it needs to keep showing up for you. And you absolutely can do that. Take good care of yourself. You deserve every bit of it.